The small scout ship drifted silently through the star-speckled void. Inside, Lyanna checked her navigation screens for the third time. This was her first solo mission, and she was determined not to make any mistakes. Border patrol complete. No unusual activity. She recorded in her log, her voice steady despite her nerves. Lyanna was young for a Viridian scout. The iridescent scales along her arms shimmered as she moved, catching the dim light of the cabin. Her feathered crest, usually flat against her head, was slightly raised, a sign of alertness her superiors would have approved of. The Viridians were known across the galaxy as careful explorers who rarely engaged with other species. They preferred to watch, learn, and keep their distance. Safety through isolation had been their way for generations. Lyanna stretched, her tail curling behind her seat. She was about to set course for home when a bright flash on her sensor panel caught her attention. "Computer, identify energy signature at coordinates 227 to 8439, she said. "Unknown energy pattern. Possible weapons discharge." The computer replied in its flat tone. Lyanna hesitated. Protocol was clear. Unknown conflicts were to be reported and avoided. But the discharge was coming from an uncharted moon, one her people had never visited. What if someone needed help? "Computer, adjust course. Take us closer, but maintain stealth systems." As her ship approached, the sensors revealed more details. Two groups of vessels were engaged in battle around the small moon. Neither matched any ship design in her database. Curiosity overrode her caution. She moved closer, eager to gather information for her report. That was her mistake. A massive blast of energy from one of the larger ships missed its target and struck Lyanna's vessel instead. Warning alarms blared as her ship spun out of control. Emergency landing procedures initiated, the computer announced as the moon's surface rushed toward them. Lyanna grabbed the controls, fighting to slow their descent. The ground came up too fast. Her last conscious thought before impact was that her first solo mission would also be her last. Staff Sergeant Alex Miller crouched behind a fallen tree, signaling his team to hold position. Sweat trickled down his face despite the cooling system in his combat suit. "Command, this is Fireteam Echo. We're 5 clicks from the research station, but have encountered heavy draconid activity. Request guidance, over," he whispered into his comm. Static answered him. The draconids were jamming their communications. "What now, Sarge?" asked Corporal Samuel Wright, his rifle trained on the dense vegetation ahead. Alex considered their options. His 4-person team had been sent to extract human researchers when the draconids attacked without warning. Now they were cut off, outnumbered, and on unfamiliar terrain. "We stick to the mission. Those scientists are counting on us," Alex replied. Lieutenant Brandon Cole, the team medic, checked his scanner. "I'm picking up a crash site 2 clicks east. Recent impact." "Draconid?" Alex asked. "No, sir. Different signature entirely," responded Sergeant Olivia Hayes, the tech specialist. "Could be a third party caught in the crossfire." Alex nodded grimly. Humanity had only recently joined the galactic community. Most species still viewed them with suspicion, seeing humans as unpredictable newcomers. The 87th Interstellar Division was working to change that perception, one mission at a time. Change of plans. "We check the crash site first," Alex decided. "If someone's hurt, we help them. That's what we do." As they moved through the thick forest, a bright flash illuminated the sky. Looking up, Alex saw more ships engaged in battle above the atmosphere. The draconids were relentless in their attacks, considering all other species either servants or food. "Keep it tight," Alex ordered as they approached the crash site. "We don't know what we're walking into." None of them could have guessed that this unexpected detour would change the course of galactic history forever. Pain woke Lyanna. Sharp and insistent, it pulled her from the comfort of darkness. She opened her eyes to see the shattered remains of her ship's control panel. Sparks jumped from broken wires, casting brief flashes of light across the crushed cabin. "Computer, status report," she croaked, her throat dry. No response. The ship's systems were dead. Lyanna tried to move and gasped as pain shot through her leg. Looking down, she saw a jagged piece of metal embedded in her thigh. Blue blood, the color of her people, oozed around the wound. "Stay calm," she whispered to herself. "First step of survival. Assess the situation." She reached for her emergency kit, wincing as she pulled it from under her seat. Inside was a small medical scanner, which she passed over her body. The device beeped, showing a broken leg and several deep cuts, but nothing life-threatening. Next, she tried her translator and emergency beacon. Both were damaged in the crash. Without them, she couldn't call for help or communicate with any locals who might find her. Night was falling on the small moon. Through the cracked viewport, Lyanna watched as 3 small moons rose in the violet sky. In the distance, strange howls echoed through the forest that surrounded her crash site. The Viridian scout tried to calm her rising fear. Her people had natural defenses. She could change the color of her scales to blend with her surroundings, and in extreme danger, release a mild electric shock. But these abilities wouldn't save her from large predators or hostile sentients. A sound outside made her freeze. Something was moving through the underbrush, getting closer. Lyanna reached for her small service weapon, only to find it missing from its holster. The noises stopped just outside her broken ship. She heard soft voices, definitely sentient beings, not animals. Her translator caught fragments. Life signs, inside. Careful, unknown species. Lyanna's heart raced. What if they were draconids? She had heard stories about the reptilian warriors who saw other species as prey. The stories said they enjoyed the hunt, toying with their victims before the kill. Using her natural camouflage, Lyanna changed her scales to match the dark interior of the ship. She held perfectly still, barely breathing. Heavy footsteps approached the shattered door of her craft. A beam of light swept the interior, passing over her once, then returning. She had been spotted. Alex Miller held his breath as he peered into the wrecked spacecraft. His night vision goggles revealed a small figure trying to hide in the shadows. The alien was unlike any species in their database, slender with scaled skin and something like feathers on its head. "I've got a survivor," he whispered to his team. "Injured, non-draconid." Lieutenant Cole moved up beside him. Hostile. Doesn't look it. More scared than anything. Alex made a decision. He switched off his night vision and turned on his helmet light, moving slowly to appear less threatening. "Olivia, see if you can get any read on its communication tech," he ordered. Sergeant Hayes scanned the ship. "There's a damaged device near its wrist. Might be a translator." The alien was clearly terrified, pressing itself against the far wall of the cabin. A small puddle of blue liquid, blood, he guessed, had formed beneath its injured leg. Alex reached into his medkit and pulled out a universal med seal, designed to work on most known species. He approached slowly, hands visible. "It's okay," he said softly, knowing the alien couldn't understand his words, but hoping his tone might help. "We're not going to hurt you." The creature's eyes, large and golden with vertical pupils, watched his every move. As Alex reached toward its injured leg, the alien closed its eyes tightly, body trembling. It was expecting pain, or worse. Instead, Alex gently applied the med seal to the wound. The transparent patch immediately turned blue as it analyzed the alien blood, then shifted to green as it released appropriate antibiotics and coagulants. The alien's eyes snapped open in surprise. "That should help with the pain," Alex said, smiling behind his faceplate. "My name is Alex. We're humans, and we're going to get you out of here." 3 days passed since the humans found Lyanna. They had made her wrecked ship into a shelter, reinforcing the damaged hull with materials from the forest. The pain in her leg had lessened thanks to the strange medicine the human called Alex had applied. Lyanna watched the 4 humans as they worked. They were unlike any species she had studied. Their skin had no scales or feathers, just occasional patches of hair. They removed their helmets inside the ship, revealing faces that showed emotions much like her own people. The female human, who the others called Olivia, spent hours working on Lyanna's broken translator. She had gentle hands but fierce eyes that narrowed when she concentrated. "Almost got it," Olivia muttered as she connected tiny wires inside the device. "The power system is fried, but I might be able to link it to our comm unit for temporary power." Lyanna couldn't understand the words, but she appreciated the effort. She had begun to realize these creatures weren't the monsters she feared, but another species caught in the same conflict. Samuel, the tallest human, kept watch outside the ship. He moved with careful steps and always held his weapon ready. The fourth human, Brandon, had treated her injuries with quiet efficiency. His touch was clinical but kind. But it was Alex who fascinated her most. He seemed to be their leader, yet he served the others food before taking his own. He made decisions but listened to their input. This was different from Viridian hierarchy, where leaders gave orders that were followed without question. "We need to establish basic communication," Alex said that evening as they sat around a small heat source. "The Draconids control the moon's orbit. We can't call for extraction until we clear a path through their jamming signals." He turned to Lyanna and pointed to himself. "Alex," he said clearly, then pointed to her with raised eyebrows. Lyanna understood the question. She touched her chest. "Lyanna," she replied. Alex smiled, showing white teeth. On her world, displaying teeth was a threat, but she was learning that for humans, it meant friendship. "Lyanna," he repeated, then gestured to the others. "Olivia, Samuel, Brandon." For the next hour, they developed a simple sign language. Alex drew in the dust on the floor, showing their two species as stick figures, then a third, larger figure with a reptilian appearance. He made a growling sound and mimicked claws with his hands. Lyanna nodded. She knew he meant the Draconids. She drew her people as peaceful, using lines to show their preference for distance and observation. When Alex drew humans, he showed them with one hand reaching out and the other holding weapons. When Lyanna looked confused, he acted out, offering help while remaining ready to fight if needed. She began to understand. Humans were both warriors and helpers. "I think she gets it," Olivia said, looking up from the translator. "And I've got partial functionality on this device. Basic phrases only." She handed the repaired translator to Lyanna, who attached it to her wrist. The device hummed as it powered up. "Testing translation matrix," it announced in Viridian. "Limited functionality available." Lyanna looked at the humans with new hope. "I am Lyanna, scout of the Viridian Exploration Corps," she said carefully. The translator crackled, then spoke in a flat tone. "Identity, Lyanna, observer from Star People." Alex's face brightened. "It works. Lyanna, we are humans from Earth. We are not your enemies." The translator conveyed, "Not danger to you. Humans, new species." Lyanna felt a wave of relief. For the first time since the crash, she allowed herself to believe she might survive this ordeal. Alex pointed upward, where distant explosions occasionally lit the sky. "Draconids hunt all non-Draconid life. They hunt us. They hunt you. Together, we have better chances." The device translated his words simply. "Predators above. Hunt all. Together, survive better." Lyanna nodded. She understood perfectly. A week had passed since the crash when Olivia's scanner began to beep urgently. She grabbed it from her belt, her face turning serious as she read the display. "Sarge, we got company," she said to Alex. 6 Draconid life signs, moving in a search pattern. They're about 2 miles out but heading straight for us. Alex's face hardened. He turned to the group gathered inside Lyanna's damaged ship. "Samuel, Brandon, grab your gear. Lyanna, how much can you tell us about Draconids through that translator?" Lyanna's translator had improved each day as Olivia worked on it. It still spoke in simple terms, but communication was much clearer now. Draconids are hunters, Lyanna explained. Her translator converted her musical Viridian speech into flat English. They believe all other species are food or slaves. They hunt for sport before they kill. Charming, Samuel muttered, checking his rifle. They also have honor code, Lyanna continued. They believe superior hunters deserve victory. They do not like, what is your word, tricks. Alex nodded slowly, a plan forming in his mind. So they value a fair fight and look down on deception or sneak attacks. We can use that against them. Brandon looked skeptical. 4 of us against 6 Draconids. Those aren't good odds, especially in open combat. Who said anything about open combat? Alex replied with a grim smile. Lyanna, is your leg strong enough to move through the forest if we help you? The Viridian stood carefully, testing her weight on her injured leg. The pain was there but manageable. Yes, I can move. Good, because we're not going to hide. And we're not going to run. Alex gestured everyone closer. We're going to set a trap. Over the next 2 hours, the humans showed Lyanna a side of their species she had never imagined. With minimal technology and mostly natural materials, they transformed the forest around the crash site into a deadly maze. Samuel dug hidden pits covered with thin branches and leaves. Olivia rigged tripwires connected to fallen logs that would swing down from trees. Brandon gathered sticky sap from the forest plants and mixed it with tiny sharp seeds to create patches that would cling to skin and cause pain. And Alex coordinated it all, placing each trap where it would be most effective, creating a kill zone that would force the Draconids to separate. My people would never think to fight this way, Lyanna said as she helped camouflage a pit with Alex. We survive by avoiding conflict. If we cannot hide, we run. Alex paused his work. Humans learned long ago that sometimes you can't hide or run. Sometimes you have to stand your ground, but that doesn't mean you have to fight fair. Is this common among humans? To use the environment as a weapon? Alex nodded. Throughout our history, smaller forces have defeated larger ones by using terrain and surprise to their advantage. The Draconids may be stronger, but they're predictable. They expect fear from their prey. They don't expect resistance. A distant roar echoed through the forest, making Lyanna's scales change color in fear. They're getting closer, Samuel warned, jogging up to them. Traps are set on the north approach. Alex checked his weapon. Brandon, Olivia, you 2 take position by the fallen tree ridge. Samuel, the high ground near the stream. I'll stay with Lyanna near the ship as backup. As the team split up, Lyanna watched them move with quiet purpose. Her people had always viewed direct confrontation as primitive and dangerous. But seeing these humans prepare, calm, focused, and inventive, she began to understand something new. What she had once dismissed as aggression was actually adaptive problem-solving. The humans weren't fighting because they loved violence. They were fighting because they refused to be victims. They're here, Alex whispered, pulling Lyanna down behind a ridge of roots. Let's see if Commander Kraz and his hunters are ready to become the hunted. Commander Kraz stood 7 feet tall, his scaled skin gleaming in the dappled sunlight of the forest. His yellow eyes narrowed as he studied the crashed ship ahead. 2 more Draconid warriors flanked him, while 3 others spread out through the trees. I smell fear, he growled, his forked tongue tasting the air. The prey is close. The Draconids moved forward with confidence. They were apex predators, feared throughout the galaxy. Their powerful bodies were covered in natural armor, and their clawed hands held advanced energy weapons. They expected no real resistance from whatever weaklings had crashed on their hunting grounds. That confidence was their first mistake. A sharp crack echoed through the forest as one Draconid stepped on hidden branches. The ground gave way beneath him, sending him plunging into a deep pit lined with sharpened sticks. His pained roar alerted the others. Spread out, Kraz ordered. Find them. The Draconids separated, their second mistake. From his position in the trees, Samuel took aim at the nearest hunter. His shot hit the Draconid's weapon, destroying it in a shower of sparks. Before the creature could locate him, Samuel had already moved to a new position. On the other side of the clearing, a tripwire snapped. A massive log swung down from the trees, catching another Draconid in the chest and knocking him flat. Olivia and Brandon emerged just long enough to disable his communications before disappearing back into the forest. Commander Kraz snarled in rage. "Cowards! Face us with honor. Honor doesn't keep you alive," Alex whispered, though only Lyanna could hear him from their hiding place. Lyanna watched in amazement as the human plan unfolded. The Draconids were being separated and neutralized one by one, never seeing their attackers clearly. The humans used hit-and-run tactics, striking quickly then changing position. 2 more Draconids fell into traps. One stepped into the sticky sap mixture, which hardened instantly around his feet. While he struggled to free himself, Brandon appeared briefly to shoot a tranquilizer dart into his neck. The massive creature swayed, then collapsed. Only Kraz and one other hunter remained now. They stood back to back, scanning the forest for threats. "This cannot be the work of the scaled bird creature we tracked," Kraz growled. "There are others." A small stone flew from the bushes, drawing their attention. As both Draconids turned toward the sound, Samuel and Olivia fired from opposite directions. The second hunter fell, stunned by their coordinated attack. Commander Kraz roared in fury, firing his weapon wildly. Trees exploded into flame around him. "Show yourselves," he demanded. Alex touched Lyanna's shoulder. "Stay hidden," he whispered. Then he stepped into the clearing, alone and seemingly unarmed. "Looking for me?" Alex asked calmly. Kraz turned, his yellow eyes gleaming with savage pleasure. "A human. Your kind are new to the stars. You will learn your place in our food chain today." "I don't think so," Alex replied. The Draconid charged, moving with surprising speed for his size. Alex waited until the last second before diving aside. But Kraz was faster than expected. His clawed hand caught Alex's leg, leaving deep gashes. Alex rolled away, wincing in pain. Blood soaked through his uniform. Kraz advanced, savoring the moment. "Your tricks have ended, human. Now you die slowly, as prey should." From her hiding place, Lyanna watched in horror as the massive Draconid loomed over Alex. The human was outmatched in size and strength, even with his tactical brilliance. This was a fight he couldn't win. She had to do something. But what could she, a Viridian scout with no combat training, do against a Draconid warrior? As Kraz raised his claws for a killing blow, Lyanna made her decision. Lyanna's scales flashed brilliant blue, the Viridian color of alarm. Without thinking, she leaped from her hiding place and focused all her energy into her natural defense mechanism. A crackling wave of electricity shot from her body, striking Commander Kraz just as his claws were about to tear into Alex. The Draconid staggered back, momentarily stunned by the unexpected attack. "What?" Kraz snarled, turning toward Lyanna. "The little bird lizard has teeth." Alex used this moment of distraction. Despite his injured leg, he pulled a hidden knife from his boot and drove it into a gap in the Draconid's natural armor, just below the knee joint. Kraz roared in pain and fury. Before he could recover, Samuel, Olivia, and Brandon emerged from different directions, their weapons all trained on him. "It's over," Alex said, breathing heavily as he pushed himself to his feet. "Your warriors are down. You're outnumbered." The Draconid commander looked around, assessing his situation. For a moment, Lyanna thought he might fight to the death anyway. But then he sank to one knee, yellow eyes burning with hatred. "Kill me then, humans. I will not be taken prisoner. We're not like you." Alex replied, nodding to Brandon. The medic stepped forward and fired a tranquilizer dart into Kraz's neck. The massive creature fought the drug for a few seconds before collapsing. Lyanna rushed to Alex's side as he sat heavily on a fallen log. Her translator hummed as she spoke. "You are injured badly." Brandon was already cutting away the torn fabric of Alex's uniform to examine the wounds. Deep gashes, but no major arteries hit. "You're lucky, Sarge." "Not luck," Alex said through gritted teeth. "Lyanna's distraction saved me." "Thank you." Lyanna's crest feathers rose slightly in embarrassment. "I did little. You fought well against a much stronger enemy." "That's what humans do," Olivia said as she helped Brandon clean Alex's wounds. "We're not the strongest or fastest species, but we're stubborn." Samuel returned from checking the other Draconids. "They're all secure. What's the plan now, Sarge?" Alex winced as Brandon applied medicine to his leg. "We need to get to higher ground to break through the communication jamming." "Olivia, can you use parts from the Draconids' equipment to boost our signal?" "Already on it," she replied, holding up devices she had taken from the fallen warriors. As the humans worked, Lyanna sat beside Alex. She had many questions now that her translator was functioning better. "Why did you help me when you found me?" "Your mission was not to find me." Alex looked at her thoughtfully. "Because that's who we are. Humans protect those who need protection. It's built into us. Even alien strangers. Especially those who can't protect themselves. That's how we measure ourselves. Not by how we treat friends, but by how we treat those who have nothing to offer us." Lyanna considered this. "My people avoid other species. We believe isolation keeps us safe." "And has it? Would isolation have saved you after the crash?" She lowered her head, acknowledging the truth. "No, I would have died without your help." "There's strength in connection, Lyanna. Humans learned that on Earth long before we reached the stars. No species thrives alone." As night fell, they took turns keeping watch over their captives. While the others slept, Lyanna observed Alex as he sat staring at the stars. His injured leg stretched out before him. "Your people are different than I expected," she said quietly. "The stories said humans were dangerous and unpredictable." Alex smiled slightly. "We can be both of those things. But so can any intelligent species. The difference is what drives us to use those qualities." "And what drives humans?" "Hope," he answered simply. "Hope that tomorrow can be better than today. Hope that we can build something worthwhile among the stars." Lyanna watched the distant flashes of the battle still raging in orbit. For the first time, she wondered if her people's isolation had cost them more than it had protected them. Dawn broke over the forest as Olivia rushed into camp, her face bright with excitement. "I got through," she announced. "The jamming field has a weak spot when the third moon passes overhead. I made contact with the U.S. Intrepid." Alex pushed himself up despite his injured leg. "What's the situation?" "The battle in orbit is turning. Human ships broke through the Draconid blockade. Captain Lisa Bennett says they can send a shuttle for extraction in 3 hours, but we need to reach the clearing 2 miles north of here." Samuel studied their map. "That's going to be rough terrain, especially with the Sarge's leg and our prisoners." "We'll make it," Alex said firmly. "Brandon, how are our Draconid friends?" "Still sedated, except for Kraz. He's awake but restrained." Alex turned to Lyanna. "This is where our paths might separate. Your people must have search protocols. If you stay with the ship, they'll eventually find you." Lyanna looked around at the humans who had saved her life. In just over a week, they had shown her more about cooperation and courage than she had learned in years of Viridian training. "My people might find me," she said slowly. "Or more Draconids might find me first. Either way, I would be alone." She straightened to her full height, her scales shifting to a determined blue-green. "I will go with you, if you will have me." Alex smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." The journey to the extraction point was difficult. They fashioned a stretcher for Alex, though he insisted on walking when the terrain allowed it. Kraz was secured and forced to walk, while the sedated Draconids were left behind with emergency beacons that would allow them to be retrieved later. As they neared the clearing, A low rumble filled the air. They looked up to see Draconid fighters racing across the sky, pursued by sleek human ships. The Intrepid must have sent cover, Olivia said, checking her scanner. But there's still heavy fighting. They reached the clearing just as a human shuttle broke through the clouds. It hovered briefly before touching down, its engines scattering the tall grass in waves. The shuttle door opened to reveal armed human soldiers in combat gear. They rushed forward to help the team aboard. Staff Sergeant Miller, a lieutenant, called out, "Captain Bennett sent us to get you. We need to move fast." As they hurried toward the shuttle, a Draconid fighter swooped low overhead. Lyanna looked up in terror as the ship fired, its energy beam cutting through the air straight at them. Alex saw it too. Despite his injury, he pushed Lyanna forward with surprising strength. "Go," he shouted. The blast hit behind them, throwing them both to the ground. For a moment, Lyanna thought she would die after all. But then strong hands were lifting her, carrying her up the ramp into the shuttle. Inside, medics rushed to help Alex as the shuttle lifted off. Through the viewport, Lyanna saw the surface of the moon grow distant. The shuttle broke through the atmosphere into space, where the massive form of the U.S. Intrepid waited. "Is this your first time on a human ship?" Alex asked, now lying on a medical bed as the shuttle docked. Lyanna nodded. "My people will be shocked. No Viridian has ever willingly entered human space." "Then you're making history," he said with a smile. The shuttle doors opened onto the Intrepid's busy landing bay. Humans of different colors and sizes moved purposefully among strange machines and equipment. Some stopped to stare at Lyanna, but most simply nodded respectfully. Captain Lisa Bennett greeted them personally. She was tall with dark skin and short gray hair, her uniform crisp despite the battle her ship had just fought. "Welcome aboard, Lyanna of Viridia," she said. "I understand we have you to thank for helping save our people." Lyanna felt a warmth spread through her chest. "No, Captain. It is I who must thank you. Your soldier saved me when I expected only death." As medics took Alex away for treatment, Captain Bennett placed a gentle hand on Lyanna's shoulder. "That's what humans do. Now, let's find you a way home." Lyanna looked around at the ship, at the stars visible through the viewports, at the diverse humans working together. "Perhaps," she said softly, "I have found something else instead. A new beginning."